Alright guys, so going to be trying to get some work done on Steve's car. I would like to put the front clip back on the car this week, at least by the weekend, hopefully. So I've got some wiring to finish up. So if you caught the last video, you saw this bracket I made, and I've got it painted body color, base coat, clear coat, and I've got it bolted on. And it's basically so the temp sender wire has something to be routed along to go to the sensor up here, because the wire is going to run back there to the back. But anyway, I painted it body color so it disappear. It kind of, like, it doesn't stick out as if I'd have painted it black or something. So I think it looks kind of cool. Anyway, I really didn't have anywhere to put that sensor wire. It would have just been loose. So this way kind of allows me to, you know, have it clamped down there. And I may end up drilling, tapping it right up in here somewhere and putting a third clamp on it. Just depends how the wire lays, if I like it or not. But I can always unbolt it off there and drill and tap another hole in it and then put another clamp. So I don't have the wire routed on there yet because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do on the wiring side to get it out here, because I have changed it differently than stock. And then now that we're going back to the factory heater box, I have to kind of change things up because the heater box is in the way of some stuff again. So we kind of ran into a little bit of a couple of issues. I would have never guessed this, but I guess the new deluxe heater box seal kit is, I guess it's on back order. They're basically unavailable. So I don't know what's up with that. I definitely need a seal kit, you know what I mean, for a deluxe heater box. It has a pretty crazy seal that goes on the defrost duct to the main box. It's kind of oddball shaped, and I think it's kind of tall. And you know, I could possibly make something out of some universal weather stripping or something like that, but I don't know, man. I looked all over the internet for one and I can't find one anywhere, so that kind of sucks. And you know, I gave Steve a long parts list. It was almost a full page of a notebook of parts list, and it was all H&H parts. Anyway, there was, I think, 3 things that weren't available from H&H, and the heater box seals was one of them. The other was a heater valve. So I haven't looked for the heater valve yet because I already spent 30 minutes looking for a stupid heater box seal kit. But anyway, if we don't have a heater valve and I don't have a seal kit, really no need in messing with the heater. So this might be, the heater might be something we have to do later. So anyway, when he came over the other days, I guess he's pretty much about to the stopping point on it. So I'm going to finish wiring it up, get the front clip back on it, get the bumpers on it, and of course I'll have to finish the brakes and get them bled. And I guess he's gonna come and get it. So, which kind of glad, because now I'll have my spot back open in the garage. Probably not for long though. But anyway, there's that. So I'm trying to figure out my wiring on this car because I've kind of separated it out from stock. I don't like the way stock routes the wiring harness, so I changed it up and I put a hole in the firewall. I've talked about this before. There's a hole in the firewall back here in this back corner behind the valve cover back there. And I've got a rubber grommet that goes in there. And that's for like the starter wires and stuff. And then I had done another hole in the back of the firewall back here, right back there, and I had a little grommet in it, and it was just for the coolant temp sense wire and the oil pressure sender wire, because those were added on, you know, not too long ago. Before, when I wired his car at his house, I drilled the hole over there in the firewall, and that's where the coil wire came out with all the other stuff. So I need to open up a new hole in the firewall that'll have to be just a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger grommet, so I can run the coil wire to there instead of running it all the way over and then back up. I just want to run to that starter side what goes over there and what goes up here to the back of the front of the engine and stuff to there. And then all the headlight wiring, the horn, and the alternator is going to come out right here in the stock location. So anyway, the hole that I had in the firewall behind the distributor is not going to work now because the factory heater box is going in there, and now that's in the way. So I am going to have to, I've got a rubber plug that I'm going to put in that hole to block it off, but I'm going to have to drill another one and route it to where it can come up through there. So anyway, there'll be 3 wires coming up behind the back in here somewhere. Coolant temp sense, oil pressure, and coil. So anyway, once I get that stuff wired up, I went to the store to get a new step bit, and I did not have a big one in stock. I need a pretty big one to finish those holes out. They got to be a lot bigger than that. So I calipered out a factory heater box, hole size, heater core size ports, or whatever you want to call it, the firewall. They're a lot bigger than that. So my step bit that I have is really, really dull, and I'm afraid it's going to end up just overheating that metal trying to get it drilled. So I went to get a new one, and they were out of the bigger one, and that just irritated the heck out of me. So now I'm going to have to go somewhere else and buy one, and it's probably going to be more money to use it this time on that. So that kind of sucks. Anyway, here's another wire I got to run back there with those other 3. I keep forgetting about this is the choke wire, which this 21 circuit harness has a wire for the choke, so it's going to come up here, and I'm going to take the pin out of this, and I think I have one of the same pins that, you know, new ones. So I'm just going to basically remove this pinned wire out of here and use this plastic connector on the choke. So it's got to run back there as well. I don't have any holes in the intake over here to put any brackets on like this side does, but so that one will have to lay on the intake there. But anyway, lots of little bitty projects, we'll say, going on here with this car. Another thing I got to wait on, I don't really have to wait a long time. If you have not been following along, or even if you have, I had a video where I talked about the steering column. Steve had this is a brushed stainless one, and I started to go in and sand and polish it, and about midway of fixing the dent and sanding and polishing that, figured out that it doesn't want to turn very well because dirt daubers got in there and made a nest, and there's shop dust all down in the ball bearings in the front, packed in the grease. It needs to be taken apart and cleaned, but it's the cost efficient side of it is just to replace it. So anyway, we're going to get a new column. The problem is I don't know what length we actually need. He got that with a whole bunch of other parts from some other guy, so we don't know if that's the correct length or not. Those steering columns like that it's just the eBay ones. It's not an I did it. But those columns, there's like 3 different lengths of them on there, that style. And I can't remember what size they are now. 50, 52, and 54, I think, or something like that. So I want to make sure we have the correct length column first. So I want to get, when I finish wiring up this side of the dash and everything, I want to get the bench seat put back in here, and then I'm going to have Steve come over, and I'm going to have his column setting in there with the steering wheel on it. And I just want to see what the length is of his arms on there. Pretty much the car's his, it needs to be fit to him, you know what I mean? So I want to make sure we're going to put in the correct length column, because we don't even know if that's the correct length or not. So anyway, what else? So we got this low car floor shifter that actually caused a big mess on this car. I had to build a raised pad on the floor tunnel up here to get this up high enough so the linkage, mechanical linkage, wasn't hitting the side of the transmission. So this thing has a neutral safety switch on it, and I guess it's adjustable by these screws right here, these Allen bolts. So anyway, I wanted to check and make sure that was where it needs to be first. So I put my little meter on squawk, and I put it on here, and then I put it in reverse, and the squawk stopped squawking at me. Like right now it's squawking at me, but if you move it, it doesn't. So which means the neutral safety switch is working. So in other words, it won't start in gear. The other problem I have with it is the backup lights. I'm not sure how to hook up the reverse lights with this shifter. So, you know, got a floor shifter. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to hook up a reverse in this. I don't know of maybe there's something. I didn't read the instructions completely all the way through. Maybe there's something in there on that, or maybe I can go do some research on Google. But anyway, that's another kind of a mess I got to figure out, is how to hook up reverse lights for that to work. Can't can't hook it to a steering column because it's a floor shift now. You know what I mean? So anyway, right now I'm trying to figure out exactly the plan of attack, because I originally had a hole right here. I just put that in there when we were putting the Classic Instruments gauge setup in it. It didn't come with any wire, and this car, we had a triple gauge set under the dash, and it was all mechanical. So the Classic Instruments changed to electric, and they don't send wire. So I had to buy some green wire and some blue wire for the oil pressure sending unit and the coolant temp sender. So that is where I installed it. Then we end up going with a factory heater box, and now the hole that I got there is not going to work with the heater box because it screws in right here, and I don't want those wires going right in behind that heater box right there. I want to put them a little bit to this side, probably, to get them away from the heater box. I just don't want the heater box rubbing on some wiring and stuff, is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna have to put a rubber plug in there on the outside on that, and have to drill a new hole. But now, instead of 2 wires going through it, I've got to put 3 wires through it, 4 wires through it. So I've got to do a bigger grommet as well. So anyway, I have to wire up the main starting and charging system here, or starting system I should say, power and, you know, solenoid stuff. But it has to go teed in with these wires that I already have run underneath the floor for the neutral safety on this. So this all has to be teed in. Kind of a mess, but at least it'll have a safety feature about it, you know what I mean? Oh, somebody sent me an email, and I don't remember who that was. One of my subscribers sent me an email and said there's supposed to be a bracket that goes on this rain gear right here. There's supposed to be a bracket that goes on that because this doesn't have any support down here at the bottom. Well, I can tell you right now, for a 55, 56 Chevy in the instructions I have, there's no bracket, and the instructions don't say anything about a bracket for it. So if there's a bracket, it's going to have to be something I make myself, I guess. I don't know how that works. But I read the instructions, I didn't see anything, but maybe I overlooked it. I'll go back and look again. But as far as I know, there's no bracket to go on that. There's no extra parts. I mean, I got a couple of extra parts laying on the table, but there's no bracket, you know what I mean? So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's something they used to do and they don't do it anymore. I have no idea. Anyway, it's a gift that keeps on giving, but on the rain gear being a big mess. So I got a lot of wiring to do. I'm going to get started on that. Well, I got the big post for the starter wire, the red one, and then I got the purple. This is for the solenoid. So those 2 wires I have to run to the starter, obviously. So I've got a hole drilled in the floor, and I've got a rubber grommet here, and those are going to be going into that. So this floor shifter has a neutral safety switch on the side of it, and I've got 1 wire here, and it's actually a cutoff from an old Easy Wire harness. So it's the exact gauge, same wire, same brand, same shielding, same label, everything. So it's an identical piece. And anyway, I've got an eyelet put on there and heat shrink put on it. So it'll go on one of those studs, and this other one will go on the other one. So I'm trying to figure out the length I need here, and then I'm going to trim it down, cut it, put an eyelet on it with some heat shrink, and then that'll be done. So I put some, this is the old crappy convoluted loom cover that I don't like, but it works good for putting behind things. Like the firewall pad's going to be put over this. It's not thick enough to make any difference. But anyway, the firewall pad will go over that, so that'll be sandwiched in between there. So that's why I put that loom cover on there, and I've got it taped as well. So of course I'll rework this a little bit, but I need to figure out my length of wires, get everything trimmed to fit, and then I'll finish putting the convoluted loom on there. But anyway, for chafe protection, that's what that convoluted tubing is for, is that. So I went ahead and taped the whole thing like you would tape a wiring harness, and I've got it up and over the little fold down tabs up there under the dash going over there to the main fuse box. So it'll basically work, because I moved the wiring from the fuse panel. They had it out the bottom of it from factory, and I took everything loose and turned it upright, so all the wiring's coming out the top. That way you don't see stuff hanging down from the bottom of the fuse box. So that red wire and purple wire is coming right out of that box up here on top. So anyway, then after this is all done, which the shifter is just mocked up here, I can go out there and put the ends on those two wires and get them mounted to the starter. And then I'm going to move on to the coolant temp sense wire, oil pressure, choke, and coil. So I'm going to drill a new hole in the dash with a rubber grommet for those 4 wires. I don't want to run them out here with all this stuff, and the main reason is it comes all the way over here and then it has to work itself back up the back of the block and then over. And I don't want that much extra wire just hanging out there into the open. So I'd rather put it in behind the engine. It'll be a cleaner looking install. So I need to figure out, I need a grommet for these 4 wires, and then I need to figure out what size hole to drill. And then I'm going to have to mock up the heater box here. I got to put the heater box in it because I got to figure out where I can put these wires through there. I don't want these anywhere near that heater box on the side where it's a coarse screw that goes in there, and I don't want, you know, I don't want any of these wires getting on that coarse threads of that screw anywhere. So it'll be in the general area. It's just going to be away from it. But anyway, these will also be hidden behind the firewall pad, and you won't see them. So it's pretty neat. If you hadn't caught the old videos, I had to build a riser pad or mount bracket for this low-car floor shifter. When we tried mounting it directly to the floor with the engine and trans in the location it needs to be, the transmission was too close to the bottom of the floor tunnel. So I had to do a riser to make sure the linkage cleared the transmission. So it was quite a bit of a mess. I had to modify some things, but I got it. You know, it's been mocked up. That was a pretty big obstacle to overcome there. So I guess I'm going to get to it. I need to get this wire cut. I need to get the heat shrink slid on, get the eyelet put on there, heat shrink that on, and then I can slide the little rubber grommet on. Everywhere I put wiring through a firewall or anywhere on the car, it has a grommet, a rubber grommet. So I've actually worked on some people's cars that didn't have any rubber grommets on their wiring, just going out of the raw metal holes in the floor or firewall or whatever, and all that's going to do is blow a fuse. If it's got a fuse on the circuit, it could start a fire. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. You know, it's amazing how much time you can wrap up in doing this, because I had to feed that wire through. There's a rubber grommet at the front of this bracket right here, and I had to feed that through there up to this to pull it through. So very, very much a pain in the butt. Well guys, Steve had a glove box liner, you know, the little cardboard liner that's got flocking glued to it, looks like felt. He had one of these that somebody had put it in there at one time in its life. It's definitely not original. Anyway, it was looking pretty worse for wear, and when I dug it out, it had 2 dirt dauber nests down inside of it. And of course I broke them off of there, and I went in there and I tried to clean it with just a wet microfiber rag, and it started pulling all the felt or flocking off of it. So, and it was kind of tweaked. You could tell it's been wet or had been around moisture. It's kind of tweaked over a little bit. So on the list that I gave him, it had a new one on there. So, you know, we don't need no old crappy. I think these things are like 15 bucks or something for those new felt liners, and it'll make a world of difference when that glove box door opens. It'll look really nice. So I guess I'm gonna have to call Rain Gear and talk to them. I had a subscriber email me to tell me that there's supposed to be a bracket that goes on that Rain Gear wiper motor down here in this hole right here, and he sent a picture in the email, which I'm very appreciative of, and he has it circled in the picture, but I don't see a bracket in this picture. And the problem is, when I went through all the rain gear instructions for this model of car, it doesn't show a bracket. The kit didn't come with a bracket. So I guess I'm going to call Rain Gear and see if there's a bracket that was missing, or if they don't do that anymore. That wiper motor's got so much weight down there on the end, when, you know, with the vibration in a car, it's going to sit there and vibrate back and forth. It really needs a bracket on it. And I don't know, I'm just going to see what they say. I'm hoping that the person that emailed me the picture, I hope they're not working on a 57 Chevy, because their dashes are not the same as 55 and 6. 55 and 56 Chevy has the same exact dash. 57 is completely different. The firewall's different, the dash is different. So the firewall and dash will not interchange on a 57 to a 55 or 56. You could put it in there if you was a metal guy, you know what I mean? I've actually seen a 55 dash put in a 57. But, you know, it just, not my kind of thing, but it was neat that they did it, I guess. Well, this new Edelbrock carburetor came with this little piece of wire, power wire for the choke power, and it actually has a little plastic connector on the end of it, which is really nice. I mean, that'll make it look more professional than just sticking a raw spade on there. So the problem that I have is, not really a problem, the 21 circuit wiring harness, easy wire harness, has a red wire for choke power. So instead of, you know, butt connecting them together, I'm going to go ahead and these have a pin in them. So there's a little pin right there on the bottom of that. And I stuck a little tiny little jeweler's flat blade screwdriver down in there and unpinned that, pulled it out of that connector. So I thought I had some of those connectors like this with a lock pin, but I do not. And I'm going to be needing those, probably a few of them for this car and some for my car, my wife's car. So I went ahead and ordered a 10-pack from Summit, and they're American Auto Wire brand. So anyway, this will be not used because I don't want to butt connect that wire. I'm just gonna, that easy wire harness comes with that wire and it's extra long, so I will basically cut it to fit the choke and then crimp it on and then put that little connector plastic cover on there to look really, really cool. So it's pretty awesome. I like that kind of stuff. Well, I got to dig out some more of this plastic loom. I've got some of it up there in a container. But anyway, I've got a piece run down to here. That was the long of pieces I had. So I'm going to go ahead and put another piece on here. I am going to go ahead and cut the carpet, or the jute out, like a tunnel right there. So it'll be jute on this side and jute on this side. That way this is more sunk in. I do have to double layer this with jute, so I guess I kind of don't need to do that. But I definitely want to put another piece onto here where it goes into the rubber grommet right there. And it's just, you know, it's just giving it a little bit more protection from chafing is all it is, but it just makes me feel better about it. So the firewall pad's got to be put on and glued down, but I had to wire up this first, and then I got to wire up this other crap, and then I can put the firewall pad in, and that'll be a little bit of progress, man. It takes forever to do this little bitty stuff like this, but at least it's going to look nice. Alright, so this is a deluxe heater box for Steve's 55. This is his original. So there is a seal kit that I generally buy that to restore a heater box, and it has a pretty funky thick seal that goes right here. This is odd shaped. It's skinnier here than it is up here, and it's really tall, and that is what seals this lower box to your defrost duct. So I can't get the seal kit. It's on back order and like nobody has it. I don't know what's up with that, but anyway, I've got my tote down to see if I have something in here that I could possibly make work. I may have to go to Lowe's and look at their now they got an aisle that has a section on it of like rubber rubber seals, camper top seals, and stuff like that. I have a lot of stuff kind of like this in big rolls. And they've got different thicknesses, and one side's sticky. So I might have to do something like that and just put that around that. And then there's another seal that slips on that goes here, which I have modified that one before and used a really sticky thin piece of rubber and wrapped it around there and then stuck it to itself. So anyway, I'm going to go through here and see if I have anything to make this work. Now there's another item that we really kind of need, and I might be able to do it with the universal seal. So when your blower motor goes through your firewall over here, through this round hole over here, there's a seal that goes on there, so obviously nothing can get through here, you know what I mean, water and that type of stuff. The other thing about it is when you have your jute pad on the back of this, like your reproduction firewall pad, it's light gray, fuzzy looking stuff. And that blower motor's smaller than this opening, so when it's sticking out there, if you don't have that seal, you'll be able to see that felt all the way around there. So it needs something to seal that. Now again, I might be able to come up with something to put in there, but this is just prolonging a project is all it's doing. So anyway, this is miscellaneous rubber and foam things that I've acquired over the years. I don't think this is thick enough. I was thinking that type of deal for that. Yeah, it ain't thick enough. That one is, I mean, it's like golly, an inch long. Dan Chuck, what is that? That's for a hardtop wing window. There's another one right there. Oh, it fell out of that package. There's a brand new package of 2 packages. What do we got here? Sponge window seal. This is what that aisle I was talking about. This is what Lowe's has. They have all kinds of stuff. And I know they have some thicker stuff, so I may just have to go down there and buy a universal roll of something. I mean, all it needs to do is seal it. And then there's got to be 2 that goes on the heater core ports, which they can all be made, you know, out of like something, like a long straight off a roll. I can basically, you know, wrap it all around in a circle and cut it to fit where it touches the end there. I could make 2 blower or heater core port seals like that. It'd look a lot better than that. I'm just holding it like that. But I was digging through here, or I'm going to dig through here, and I'm hoping I can find something that might work. There is all kinds of stuff in here. That's 57 Chevy heater box seal there. I think that's for the valve on the firewall, I think. Velcro. I don't even know what some of this stuff is, man. Now that's edge molding that slips on like sheet metal. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go to Lowe's, try to find something. Oh, don't tell me that's the... How awesome is that? I believe that is the seal, guys, out of the kit for 55, 56 deluxe heater. I believe that is the seal for that. It fits a little loose though. Maybe it ain't. It's kind of about what it looks like. I might. Yeah, it's pretty loose. I might be able to make that work though. I can always take something like That's kind of thick. I think I got some of this that's thinner. I could actually put this, do a run around it first, and then put that on to take some of the slack out of it. That's too sloppy. That'll leak air. It needs to be sealed good so everything blows very well through the ducting and stuff. But anyway, I'll figure it out. It's just, it's really nice when you're building cars to have this kind of stuff in your inventory, because there's times you run across something that, you know, it needs a piece of rubber added to it, or it needs a seal, or you need to edge something out to make it look nice. And it's just nice having that type of crap laying around. I guess I'll go to Lowe's. Well, if you 55 and 56 deluxe heater box guys don't know, there are supposed to be these sleeves right here on the studs. Supposed to put those on there before they go through the firewall. Now, they originally packed these with butyl, and that way it kind of held them in place a little bit, but that is your spacer between your firewall and your firewall pad, basically. But anyway, I don't have any for Steve's car. Now you got to have 2 on the main box, and you got to have 3 on the blower motor housing. So I pulled my slide tray out, and I only have 3, and I'm going to have these for the 2-door post project, and then have 2 more. So I dug through my stuff here, and I found this, which I think is from an N-Link kit for maybe a G-body. But, I mean, it's thicker walled, but it's the same outside diameter. So what I'm going to do is cut these down to the length of these. And I have another one of these. I'm going to do that right here. Actually, that one's thicker. So that's the only one I got. Damn it. That one's close. That's more like stock. Anyway, I have enough here to make a set for Steve's car, because I looked online when I was making his parts list and I couldn't find these. So, I don't know, man. I'll just have to make them, I guess, but this is just crap that when you're trying to do something like this, it just takes time. Missing parts. Man, it takes a lot of time trying to map out places to drill holes and put grommets and that type of stuff to make sure everything's free of getting into something. But anyway, I drilled a hole over here in the firewall, and I've run 4 wires out of it. And that's the oil pressure sending unit wire. The green one is the coolant temp sense wire, and the pink is the coil, and the red one is going over. It's going to be for the choke on the carburetor. So the only wiring loom stuff that Steve had was this old school convoluted stuff, and there was just one package of it, and I have been using quite a bit of it. I don't know how long that was, but there was a bunch of it. But I've been using it up here on this stuff because I'm sandwiching these wires in between the firewall pad and the firewall itself. I don't want those wires to get chafed, and I don't like the look of this stuff. It's outdated, you know. It's just, I like that newer style weave style stuff better. Anyway, this is perfect to wrap that for further protection from chafing and all that kind of stuff. But I have run those 4 wires. They go up, there's a little loop thing in the top of the firewall up there, and I've got the wires run over that, and it has that convoluted tubing all the way. So that's further chafing protection up there. Anyway, that comes down for those 4 wires. And then these are the starter solenoid wires coming down this way, and I'd wired this the other day. Now I'm going to have to redo it, which is not going to be too big of a deal. The wiring length and everything is cut to fit. That's okay. But I need to move this where I've got these coming in together, wide in. These need to come up here, because when I put the heater box in, that's about where the lower bottom blower piece is that blows air out for the heater. So that is always a really shallow area between your carpet and that to get air out from your heater. So I'm going to move this further over this way. That way it's out of the way of that. But all I need to do is cut my little tape strips loose, cut them through up here, pull this loom back loose, and these are just, they're not, I don't have the ends on yet, so I've got plenty of slack here. So that's why I can alter that. But anyway, I'm going to change that Y and bring it up here. So I had to drill another hole in the firewall here. This is I had to draw the outline for the heater box, but that's the hole for a screw that goes into the heater box from the factory. It takes a Phillips, I can't remember what size that is, number 10, I think. I think it's a 10, it may be a 12, number 12 Phillips screw that goes in here. And, you know, it'd be nice to put like a button head Allen screw or bolt from the other side and then put a nut on this side, or vice versa. It's just it's behind the firewall or behind the engine, and it's going to be tough to get to. And it would take 2 people to put the heater box in and out of the car if he ever had to service it in the future, or me installing it after it's restored. So I just drilled a hole and did it with the factory style screw. Just trying to simplify things. When you're trying to figure things out and fabricate, you have to think about if you have to take the car apart. You know, you need to be able to access it and work on it, service things. You also need to make sure that what something like, in this case the wire, what it's going to rub on and possibly get chafed. So I've got to cut a little strip out here from the jute, so this will go down in between, but this will have more of this put on it. That was just as long as the pieces I had. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and further put some more of this on that, but I'm going to cut a tunnel in here basically. Now I'm going to be getting some more jute padding to double it up on the tranny tunnel because the carpet's too sloppy here, it's too loose. So the second row of jute will go over this wiring, so that'll further, you know, camouflage it and all that kind of stuff, and you won't see a lump in the carpet basically. But that screw that I drilled for that, I luckily had a few of them in my screw bin over here, and it's pretty much identical to factory, but this is stainless steel, and I lightly sanded the head of that because it's kind of rough, and then I polished it on the buffing wheel and then cleaned out the rouge from out of where the screwdriver goes in. But this might need to be a little longer, but as far as I know, this might actually work because the factory one's a little bit longer than this, but it's pretty much identical to factory, just a little shorter, and this is stainless steel, so it won't rust and it'll look nice. You actually see that when you're sitting in the car. You can see that screw down there. So anyway, that is what I'm going to use because it's here, it's free, he doesn't have to pay for it. So now I need to finish that up in there on that starting system, and I need to go ahead and put the heater, the firewall pad, back in the car, but I've got to punch out some stuff. It's pre-perforated for all the heater box stuff, and I have to, you know, punch that all out. I need to get in here and drill holes for that rubber cover for the column right there. I've already put 1 bolt with 1 nut just for mock-up to hold that up there because they left that hole down there, and I'm going to drill the other 4. That way I can put stainless steel Allen buttons in on that. And that is a thing that it's going to take 2 people to do because it's going to be a bolt on the firewall and a nut on the inside, but it's all I can do. There's quite a bit of tension on this rubber seal right here to get it sucked up to the firewall because that sponge seal is like this thick. So, I mean, that is all I can do. So, anyway, I still need to take that cowl door out over there and drill the rivets out or grind them loose and get that taken apart. So, I mean, there's still quite a bit of work to do to this car, you know, on the restoration side of it. This wiring is just, it burns up a lot of time to do things. Now, I talked about this in an older video. The floor dimmer switches, I always run it from like a 72 Chevy pickup is what I tell them at the parts store. But they're designed to mount on the inside of the car, not outside the car like a factory 55 like this one. So somebody had replaced this at one time. I remember when I wired the car, that looked pretty new back then. And so I reused it. But now, since it has a little corrosion on it, I thought, well, I'll just clean it up and reuse it. But EasyWire has already put an end on this for the dimmer switch, and these are not long enough to go out there to that underneath the toe board. So these are going to have to be, I'm going to have to convert this over because of that plug-in. So I mean, it kind of sucks. I wish they would have put that plug in and those 3 connectors in a package for you so you could crimp them on yourself, but that just kind of sucks, man, but it is what it is. So I found that at Summit, that dimmer switch at Summit. It's a Ron Francis one, and it's the inside mount one. So that'll have to have nuts and bolts basically for that, but it is what it is. I mean, it'll be awesome because it'll be brand new anyway. I generally change all the electrical stuff out, but you know, I'm trying to save Steve $20, and I really should have learned my lesson by now and just get new stuff, you know, because it'd be my luck the dimmer switch will go out on it 2 months after he gets the car back or something. That's all we need is the lights to go out in the middle of the night while he's driving home or something. So might as well just put a new one in it and be done with it. I showed a video of the dimmer switch, or the dome light switches, the other day, how the one that was in here, it wasn't making any contact, it wasn't working, and I took it apart and tried to clean it and put it back together. It still doesn't work, which blows my mind. Those are so basic, I don't understand why I couldn't figure that out. So I ended up having him get 2 new ones from H&H Classic Chevy, so there's going to be brand new ones going in there, and I will be changing the screws out to stainless that I'll buff on the wheel. So not putting no zinc plated screws in there, it just looks kind of goofy. But anyway, still lots of little bitty things to do. I need to get some jute. I forgot about that. I'm going to have to go in there and find that on Amazon and take a picture of it and send it to him, have him get that. Well, I almost forgot about the blower motor we're going to need. So I've mentioned this before in a video, but I want to mention it again. If you need a blower motor for your 55, 56 Chevy heater, the cheapest place I've found is O'Reilly, but they only list it for a 210 series 55 Chevy. If you put in Bel Air, it says no matches. If you put in 150, it says no matches. So if you put in 210 series, it comes up. It's one of the drop downs. It says like Bel Air 3500, I think. There's quite a few things, and then it even says Nomad. Then it'll say 150, then it says 210. But anyway, 210 series blower motor, they used to be $25, and I think they used to be a VDO brand. Now the only one that they stock is a Murray, and it's $45, but it's still half price of like in the parts stores, or I mean Danchuck, H&H and all that. I want to say they're around $80 to $100 or something. So it's still a good buy. Problem is, the power wires for that blower motor, the original I think just has one for power. I guess it self-grounds. The new one has a power and a ground, so you will have to put an eyelet on the ground wire and ground it. But the wiring, I think, is on the outside end of the blower motor out here. So I think that's what I ended up having to do on my car. I couldn't remember, but my wiring comes out the bottom, and I drilled a hole and put a rubber grommet and run them back into the firewall, and I put some nice little, you know, woven style sleeving on it. You really don't see it. Of course, my car's all black, but I'm going to have to be real cautious on Steve's car. Now, I really don't understand why there's a hole here and a hole here. It's just supposed to be 3 big holes for studs. So there's a hole there and a hole there. Like there was a block-off plate on this at one time or something. I don't know. It's kind of strange. But nothing I can do about it. They're going to have to stay there. I might try to put some larger washers on there or something. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so I need to get that blower motor. I sent a picture of it to Steve from O'Reilly's. He works nearby in O'Reilly's, and I think he has a discount there. I don't remember, but anyway, I'm going to have him get that blower motor, and then I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to have to put a rubber grommet to run the wires back in the car. So a little bit of custom work's going to have to be done there, but I almost forgot that blower motor. That would not have been good. Well, that makes me happier. So if you've been following the series on Steve's car, the heater box has been painted a couple of times. And I tried using that old garbage. This used to be the best there was in the 90s, in the 2000s. There was nothing better than that aircraft remover. That stuff you'd put it on and it sounded like bacon sizzling, and the stuff would just fall off the side of a car. So it was always my way of stripping a car down to bare metal. So anyway, I guess they removed the methyl chloride or whatever, no telling what else. But that stuff is garbage. I bought that, and back then I think it was almost $100. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, I think. Anyway, I could stick my finger in there and it wouldn't do anything. It was just junk. It was like you're just brushing jelly on there and it not doing anything. So I even tried putting it inside a trash bag, and it still didn't do anything, even after like an hour in there. So a friend of mine, Scott Smith, asked me if I'd ever tried this. This was like a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago. It's called Aircraft Ultra paint remover. And I told him, no, I didn't even know they had an Ultra. So why you would sell something that doesn't work at all compared to something that does work is beyond me. But that was $45 for that quart. So anyway, I bought it and I poured some in a little bowl and brushed it on this heater box like 15 minutes ago. And I haven't even put this in a bag, and it already wrinkled the paint off. So that is pretty nice, that you can actually get a paint stripper that works. There's tons of aircraft, or tons of strippers on the market, paint strippers on the market, but at least now there's something that works kind of like it used to. It doesn't give you the bacon sizzling effect like it used to, but it does work. The Ultra does work better than that old crap. So, well, that's not that old, but you get what I'm saying. So I have to do all the heater box parts with this because it's been painted multiple times, and this will make it a lot easier on my blaster, and I won't take as long at the blaster and use so much media. So just in case you know, I need to paint strip something, you know, with chemical stripper, get the Ultra aircraft. At least it kinda works like it used to. Well, here's the other half of the box. After I put 2 good wet coats of stripper on there, did a coat, and then I scrubbed it a little bit with some steel wool, and then I put another coat on and scrubbed it again. But now I'm finding out why this stuff is so hard to remove. Somebody used, I'm assuming this is probably a urethane high build primer because it's really thick and it's gray primer on top of the original gray that come on the box. So, and then they painted that. But that's why I'm having so much trouble stripping it, is because it's a pretty heavy duty primer it was put on there. So now I've got it after 2 coats. It's still not perfect. I need to go in and spot it in. I did get the rest of it off of this one. And this piece I'm wanting to replace because it's so tweaked and bent up. And then this piece, I still mostly got it off there. Still a few remnants of the red or orange or whatever that is on there. But I think what it is when they painted the car, the people before Steve bought the car, it was painted base coat, clear coat, like a medium red metallic color. And I'll bet that the heater box and all that stuff, or this and this piece for sure, because this has red under it, those got painted at the same time while it was still bolted on the firewall. So anyway, I've got these mostly stripped out. This piece I'm wanting to replace because the hole's wallered out for the door, and there's a couple extra holes drilled in it that somebody's done. So anyway, I still haven't heard anything from Steve on the guy that lives in his hometown that has a bunch of Tri-5 parts. I need to know if I can get them heater box parts. I think me and my buddy Scott Smith, I think we may be going to Perky's next week, maybe. So I haven't heard a for sure yet from Scott, but anyway, that's kind of the plan. I kind of ran into a couple of things on the car that I still need. You know, you can do a list and walk around a car and look at stuff and figure out what you need, but until you get in there and start doing something, there's going to be something else that pops up every time. So on Steve's list that I gave him a list, and it had the clips that go on the core support right here. They slip on right here in your headlight harness, and the horn wire for the other side goes over to there. Headlight turn signal, I should say. Anyway, it clips on and just kind of sticks right here on the back of the core support and goes all the way across. So I had those on the list to get new. Well, he sent me a text and he said he can't get them. So anyway, I think what I'm going to end up doing is, if we go to Perky's, I might grab a few of them off some of them cars over there and just throw them in some muriatic acid where it cleans them to bare metal, and then I'll get them out, wash them off, and then paint them etching black. So I think that is kind of the new plan. Now, on the inner fender that goes up here, there's an inner fender that runs in here, and there's holes drilled in it, and that is what your wiring harness clips to. There's a few clips there, and there's some up front too. That clip set for that is 50 bucks. It's like $56 or something, that's what I seen. That is preposterous. There's no way. This is what it is. This little bitty steel clip, 50 something bucks for that set. Can you believe that? I mean, is somebody smoking crack that prices these parts? I mean, what the heck? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Price some of that stuff so expensive where it just is too much. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think we're just going to end up getting the two-piece aluminum ones like these billet specialty style. These are for my wife's car. My wife's 55, but I dug them out just to kind of get an idea what will fit on Steve's car. So I have 5/16 and I have 1/2 inch, and this is what I bought for the wiring harness loom clamps. So anyway, I figured out that the 1/2 inch ones is the size you need for 1/2 inch line. That's what fits this harness pretty well for all that stuff there. But keep in mind, there's 2 alternator wires coming out there. So 1/2 inch was pretty good for that. I tried the 5/16, but it's too small for that main harness. But 5/16 is probably going to be needed up in here, because there's some that go up here on the inner fender once you get the harness up here. But I think those would look better anyway. And you can get a couple of packages of these for the price you can pay for the set of these goofy things. And all these are going to do is scratch your paint when you put them in there. So anyway, metal clip, aluminum clip. So anyway, the wire loom stuff that I'm going to be putting on here will be clamped in there with it to keep it from hopefully chafing on that clamp and then grounding out, which it's all fused and, you know, breaker system anyway, it doesn't matter. But kind of at a waiting game right now. I'm waiting on heater parts. Heater cord and a heater valve was another thing that he said he couldn't find. So I'm going to have to go in there and look on the internet for one and see if I can find one. Man, this is it's kind of a mess when you got to go through and figure out all the parts you need, and then you got to get all the part numbers together and all that kind of stuff, and then it's on back order or discontinued or somebody's out of stock. You got to find it somewhere else, and when you do that, you usually have to pay shipping. I tried to find everything at one place so there was only one shipping charge, but it just didn't. All right, back at Perky's, I looked in those 56s up there for a leaf screen. This is mainly 57s down here besides that 56. And there's this 56 here. Looking for no, it's gone. I need to find that screen for the cowl that goes down there. I'll ask him to shall receive, I guess. Well, that was convenient. Make sure it's not rusty. Steve's has got through rust on it. Hell yeah. Well, that was easy, man. I didn't even have to climb up in there and pull that out. Works for me. Well, I guess there's a lot of stuff on back order for 55, 56 Chevy Deluxe heater, so we can't get the heater box seal kit. Pretty important part that we're going to need. Also, the heater valve is unavailable. So I don't know what the heck's going on. This is Steve's original, and you know, it has a diaphragm in there, and I'm a little bit nervous of trying to put this back in the car and then him starting to drive it, and then the heater core or the valve start leaking, and you know, something bad happening in the car, you know, nasty wise, get the carpet all messed up. But I tell you what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some baking soda and put it in my little pot blaster. I've got a little, looks like an old school pot gun, like a paint gun, and I'm gonna blast that with baking soda. That way there's nothing harsh, you know, it's kind of more or less powder. And I'll blow it off real good and then lubricate it. I haven't tried to move the valve yet. I don't want to try to move that until I remove some of this corrosion. But anyway, what I'm worried about is where it's sealed around here and it's been getting rusty. I'm afraid it's going to leak into the box, but I'm just going to have to try it. He did get a new heater core, so that's good. I mean, this one was in his car and it was working before, but you know, you never know how long these are going to live after you start running a car again after decades of being not ran. So anyway, I'd rather put all brand new in it, but I guess we can't. All right, here's the heater valve from his box, and there's some moving parts in there and stuff, and there's a little diaphragm in there. So I am going to try to clean this up with baking soda, blasting it out of this little sandblaster gun. I usually use this setup to blast my spark plugs sometimes, if they're, you know, carboned up or something. But anyway, I've never tried to clean a valve. I always replace them, but they are on national back order right now, so just gonna have to go for it, man. I don't want to try moving that lever right there yet until all the crusty rust and all the crap is off of that, because I don't want to, you know, mar something up or tear something up. So the idea of the baking soda is just my idea. It's not going to be as harsh, and it's like a powder, so it, you know, if residue gets stuck in there, it ain't going to hurt nothing. Whereas if I used a media like my coal slag, it would be too coarse on some of that stuff, and if it gets up in that valve, I don't want it to, you know, rupture the diaphragm or anything. But if it's not already ruptured, I mean, I don't know. So I'm just going to give it a go. It's not going to hurt to try, you know what I mean? If it's on back order, there's nothing I can do. So I'm out. I just had a little bitty bit in there, but that looks like it cleaned it up pretty good. I mean, it's not, you know, perfectly spotless, but now I'll blow it out with some compressed air, and I'll spray a little lubricant down in there. Then I'll try to move this lever. You know what I think I'm going to do is put, I should have blasted the inside of that. I think I'm out. Dang it. Yep. There's like just not even a teaspoon left in there. That might be enough, though. We'll try it. Well, since it's out, I pretty much blasted it with air anyway. But I think I'm going to put some PB Blaster down in that. That way that diaphragm has some kind of lubricant on it. I mean, I don't know, man. I've never tried to mess with one of these to get it to work, you know. I usually try to just replace all this stuff while I've got the box apart and everything and restoring it. And then I don't have to, generally, don't have to worry about, you know, issues later from a leak or something, you know. But anyway, I'm gonna douse it up with some lube and See if I can get it to operate. Well, here's the new $10 screen from Perky's. I blasted it, and it has one pitted spot on this corner here, so dang it. You never know until you blast one. I knew it didn't have any through rust, but that would be the face side, you know what I mean? It couldn't be on the back side, but I'm gonna have to put some putty on this and then sand it and prime it and then sand it and then prime it again. So, oh well, it was the only one there, so I mean that's the only one we can get our hands on right now, so it's 95% good, I guess. Nothing wrong with it, I just got to body work it is what I'm saying. Kind of sucks, but it's got to be done. So I went ahead and blasted this plate that goes in the heater box. This is for the blower motor to mount to. Those are the 3 studs that go through the firewall, and they's are the ones that they're all bent and stripped and all kinds of stuff. And this thing is wavy. It's supposed to be flat, except that raised center piece here, but that outer flange it's pretty tweaked out, so I need to remove these studs, and then I'm going to have to hammer and dolly this out flat, and then I'm going to weld in the 1/4x20 stainless steel bolts. And the only thing that Tractor Supply had was 1 inch and 1.5. They don't have any of the stainless steel bolts that are in 1/4 inch increments. It's only a full inch or a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to have to cut a 1/4 inch off of those stainless bolts and then refinish the end, which I'm going to finish the ends on them anyway, if I would have found 1 1/4 or not. But just you know, it's just a lot of labor gets wrapped up in this little bitty crap like that, so I'll get started on that. Somebody made a comment about nobody cares when I say thread sizes and all that kind of stuff. I don't really care if anybody cares or not. I'm doing the videos, and if I want to say what size a bolt is, I'm going to say what size a bolt is. It's my channel. All right, guys, got a pretty good load of parts in Steve brought over, and this will get me going pretty good on the car again, so I'm pretty excited. Some of this stuff's going to be pretty fun. So, I mean, it's just kind of an array of stuff here, but the heater valve is on national back order for a deluxe heater for a 55, 56 Chevy. He ended up finding one on eBay that was a new old stock. It's not a new old GM stock. It's like a new old standard part. I think it was a standard. I don't remember. It was some old school part number or box and everything. It's brand new. It's never been installed, and it was priced pretty good, so he went ahead and got it. So now we'll have a new heater core, new heater valve. I'd done a video several years ago on my square body pickup I drive every day. I had to put a new heater core in it because it was leaking into the carpet, and I went down to O'Reilly's and got a new one. And it was aluminum, and I had a couple of people comment on that video that aluminum heater core ain't gonna last. And it's been, I don't even know, 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. I ain't got a problem out of it yet. But the funniest thing about it is every new car since who knows when is aluminum. My wife's little Fiat 500, I'm almost positive that's probably aluminum heater core in that car, and it's a 2012 and it's got 180,000 miles on it. It's not leaking. So people put aluminum radiators in their cars. What's the difference? Is that not pretty much a radiator? I mean, I have more important things to worry about, I guess, but some people know everything. You know, you got the blower motor from O'Reilly's because it saves money. It's like half price at O'Reilly's. Anyway, this is a Continental brand. The one they used to carry is a VDO, but the good thing about this one is the wires are coming out for the inside of the car instead of the outside like the VDO brand one. So I don't have to drill any holes in the firewall and put a grommet on it. This will be on the inside where it's supposed to be. So that's pretty awesome. But it's just kind of a array of parts here, just kind of all over the place. And this will get a lot of that stuff finished up. Got all the brake pedal redo stuff here. Got some heat shrink, got some wire loom, and got different. This is that new style weave loom that I love this stuff. I like it. Anyway, I got a few different sizes of that. He got some speaker grills. These are some aftermarket ones. I think these are cool. These are, to me, they look vintage. Like, they just look pretty classy to me. They look like something to be in a 40s or 50s car. And they're chrome. I dig them. He got a pair of those. Got some wiper arms and blades. Got a new glove box liner and screws. Got some primer. Got the heater control unit levers and the new lens. I got some connectors here. Just kind of a little bit of everything, but now I just got lots and lots of work to do. Okay, so this is the leaf screen for the inside of the car. This is the one I got at Perky's. I had to put some 2-part Dolphin Glaze putty on this, and then I sanded it down, and then I put a couple coats of primer on it. I need to go back and block this out and then scuff the rest of it, and I'll have to prime it again, then I'll have to be sanded again and then painted. I've got the other leaf screen. I used chemical paint stripper, the Aircraft Ultra, and got a lot of it off, and then went back and blasted this inside and out, so this is nice and clean. I got the new stainless steel bolts welded in this blower motor plate, and I got the flange dollied back straight, so this piece is ready to go. I'd already kind of cleaned this up before, and then this piece I had to chemical strip it, and I've got it blasted. So I went and bought a new bag of blast media, because the media that I'm using in my little blaster, it's been sifted so many times, you know, used, that it's really powdery. So it doesn't have a lot of kick to it when it hits the metal. So I'm hoping the new will get this cleaner, because it's got some specks on it of rust. Both of these do, so I'm going to re-blast those. But the heater box and the blower housing is now replaced with stainless steel bolts instead of the original steel. So these won't rust, and they'll look a lot nicer. But the rest of the heater box parts, the main housing that this goes on, and then the angled piece with the louvers, I was wanting to replace them because somebody's kind of cobbled that stuff together, and some of that stuff's got a bunch of holes drilled in it. The hole for the blend door is wallered out on one end, and I'm just going to pretty much have to weld it back up and re-drill the hole the correct size. But anyway, so I do have some work to do on that. Those parts, because Steve couldn't find those parts and I couldn't find them at Perky's either, I've got them inside a cardboard box outside, and I've got some of that stripper all over it, so I'm waiting on that to do its work, and then I'll go back out and rinse it off with the hose. I've got all that stuff inside a big cardboard box, and I closed the flaps on it, and the main reason is I don't want any of the animals around here getting in that box of stuff, which I think if they caught a whiff of that stripper, they would probably run the other way anyway, because it will kind of take your breath away and lock you up. But anyway, I'm trying to be a little bit on the cautious side about that. But anyway, sorry for the long video, but thanks for watching.